transparent. There we go. Thanks.
Okay. Here we go. Does anybody have any questions to start us off? No. Okay. So let's go down, and Miss Dion's getting us all dialed in here.
There we go.
Okay. So here we are. I'm pulling up our today's surf report. This is just kind of an overview of what we went over the other day. It says the height here, the tide's going down, and this is like the guesstimation of the swell. And we come down here and we check our buoy. So our buoy reading right now, as we can see, is 10 feet, 8 feet at 13 seconds from the west-northwest, 297 degrees. And there's a number of swells here. And so what we want to talk about right now is what the degrees means and where, like, what does that mean, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have you all make note of this right now. We're going to go to another application, and we're going to go to stormsurf.com. So I'm going to pull that up on my browser, stormsurf.com. And I'm going to click on Storm Surf, and we're going to pull up models. Did you all see where I clicked models? Yeah. Okay, cool. Hang with me here. We're going to go to this first map, and we're just going to click right by where California is out in the ocean. And it zoomed in on us. We're going to do it again. And we're zooming into the zone. This model is now playing, as you can see, and I just paused it. But what we're looking at here is these are the swells. This is the swell that we're looking at. So we're just going to let it play. I'm going to ramble and hang out. Okay, so all these storms is what is sending us waves. So they're coming way out of here. Now here's where it gets fun. The direction, where this storm is, where these winds are spinning is how we receive the waves. If the storm is more north, it's going to be a more northerly direction, which over time will affect where we choose to surf. If a swell dips down lower into the central region right above Hawaii, it's going to be really west, which let's all make note that west is 270 degrees, please. So as we click play again, we're just watching these swells brew, and on the top here, it's an hour forecast. So when it goes to its max of, I think, 180 hours, I think that's like roughly 7 or 8 days. So it's a swell forecast, a storm forecast of what's to come our way. You can see the graph on the bottom, suggested wave height, but this is a great indication to see what is coming down the coast without just reading surf lines 2 to 3 feet. You can project a week out, seeing that there are storms brewing up here, so we will be getting waves. If it was the summertime, there would be blobs down here in the south that would be sending south swell up to us. Everybody on board? Cool. Let me take a little sip here. So, hang out for 1 second, because as we look and these colors change, the deeper the color or the closer it goes into the spectrum is the longer the period. So the bigger the storm and the denser the color or lighter, I don't know what the word is, but as we can read in our graph, that is going to affect the period and the wave height. So we can use this graph as something as a forecast model for our upcoming surfs. So I wanted everybody to see this storm surf. This is free. This is online. There's a lot of different great tools on this website for snow and weather, and it's a lot of fun. It can be very wordy, or it can be very simple. So please have fun with this application. Any questions? Okay. So going back to our buoy, we have today, right, 8 feet at 14 seconds. And now we all kind of have an understanding of where the swells are coming from and what they sort of look like. We now have a visual. So I hope that sort of translates a little bit into the buoy reading now. Like I told you, direct west is 270 degrees. These last few swells we've had have been pretty west. So a lot of California has really enjoyed great waves. The more north the swell gets, it's sort of like the harder it is to hit the coast. So certain places will be more shadowed, certain places will be bigger. It's all dependent on the way the land is facing the ocean. So the degree of the swell needs to match with the degree of the land, and that will determine the size of the wave. Hence why when we surf in the wharf, it's tucked way in there, it's smaller. Whereas if we surfed at Moss Landing, it's gonna be bombing, sort of right there. Taking a breath here. So okay, love you. So do we all have a good understanding of the period now? That what we haven't talked about is the difference in the periods. So let's make note that from 5 to 9 seconds is going to be wind swell, and from 10 to 12 seconds is sort of on the cusp of wind swell or mid-period swell. And as we go from 12 into 16 seconds, we're at mid-period ground swell. So right now with our buoy today, we have mid-period swell, which is solid swell. 14 seconds is solid swell, mid-period swell. That those waves will have punch in them. And as we progress up after 16 seconds and we get into the 18 second, 20 second, 22 second range, the longer the interval is usually the beginning of a swell and how dense a swell was. So those long period swells come with a lot of water and really strong waves. And those are the days they surf Mavericks or Ocean Beach or Ghost Trees or those big wave spots. Love the long period swell. Any Point Break loves long period swell because it's a big mound of water that's really wide that just loves to just graze the coastline and just wrap all the way down, just like Santa Cruz has at Pleasure Point. So we have our feet and our swell periods. In the springtime, you could take note. You'll notice we'll have a lot of wind swell. We'll have 9 at 9 seconds. During the summer, we have 6 at 8, 4 at 7. We have all these wind swell numbers because there's no storms in the northern parts that are sending us ground swell because everything's coming from the south because the seasons have changed. So what's happening is just locally in our bay, there's offshore wind that sends in wind swell. Hence why when we have summer camp, sometimes there's just waves like, right? And that's us all local wind swell. Moving on, I wanted to talk about wind today. And wind is really, like I mentioned on the first one, wind is really important. And I really welcome you to start paying attention to flags and trees and locations, whether you're near the coast or off the coast, just start paying attention to the wind. And especially around here, like I mentioned, we have lots of microclimates from Carmel, Pacific Grove, Moss Landing, Santa Cruz. It's all different wind. So an application I like to use for wind is iwindsurf.com. I've saved favorites of these different applications, like where we are going to get to in iWindsurf and where we were in the storm surf. I've saved those into favorites on my phone so I can just click on it and it pops right up to where I want to be. So that's worked well for me. So we go iwindsurf.com and I click right here, live wind. And we got this, who knows what, we're gonna zoom out a bit. There we go. So this is a cool looking map. I'm not sure if anyone's seen these before. There's another application called Windy out there. A few friends of mine use that. Personally, I enjoy this better, so this is what I've used. But this is a great way to forecast wind and swells and rain, and I like to have all sorts of fun with this. So what I'm going to do here is zoom into our bay, and if you see here, all these little flags, these are all what we call wind socks, and so they're just wind stations all over the place registering wind. And I'll click on this one way offshore at the Monterey Bay buoy. So now we have a visual of where our Monterey Bay buoy is. We can click forecast. And as we scroll down, here's my forecast. And I'm looking at the arrows, and the arrows pointing straight down, which means the wind is coming straight from the north and blowing down, but wind is measured from where it's coming from. So it's north wind. Pretty consistently all through Friday. North wind. Looks like we got some rain in here. North wind. So pretty constant, right, over the next few days. North wind all the way around. So let's go back and let's click on the near shore, inner buoy, and let's see what that one registers. So this one's a little different. You see these arrows here, these are starting to get wind from the land because the offshore wind comes from the land. So now we're getting indication of what the morning winds will be like on the water. And here these flags are pointing east, northeast. So that's coming straight from the land, blowing off into the water. But we have to remember that the shape of our bay, east-northeast winds coming straight out of the Salinas Valley. So that wind is going to blow straight out into the middle of the bay. Poof! And sometimes when we're trying to surf the wharf in the early morning, the wind is blowing straight off the bay here, but then it gets to this outer wind right here, and it flips it back around. So I don't know if any of you have ever been at the wharf early in the morning when it's crisp and crystal clear and beautiful and sunny, and you think, wow, it's going to be an awesome morning, and you get to the wharf and it's full on onshore. And that's a great indication of just how cool our bay is, and we have all these different systems. So early in the morning, the winds come straight out of Salinas Valley here and blow offshore. The best time to surf is with those offshore winds if you're in the right spot. So start paying attention to the wind. But traditionally from September through early March, we have those northeast winds. We're going to use this map for a second because oftentimes before we get rain like the other day, the winds were lightly from the southeast. And if we could just imagine the wind blowing this way up into our peninsula, all of our little crooks here at the wharf, Lovers Point, along the peninsula, Asilomar Beach, and even into Del Monte Beach, all really enjoy the south wind. So please be mindful of when you can be reading or forecasting south winds. You know the conditions are going to be great. Those are the days you want to get out there. Especially wharf is straight offshore, Casa Verde side shore. Typically in the summer, the wharf goes side offshore in the afternoon, Casa Verde. South winds come up. So that's a great place to be in the summertime. So start paying attention to the wind and how it reacts, how you see it at your local surf breaks you're checking. I think you guys should really all start having a little journal, a little diary. I went surfing at the wharf. The tide was this, the wind was that, and this is what happened. When I moved here a while ago now, I used to have a little journal, and I would document it because I wanted to surf all the nooks and crannies, and where we do live has a lot of nooks and crannies. And that's what makes it fun, because all those nooks and crannies need certain things to come together for them to shine. And when they do, it's really rewarding. And you don't usually end up surfing them with many more people than just your friends. So it's something to aspire to. So I really like this application, iWindsurf. I look at it constantly. And pretty much I click the outer buoy, then I click this one right in here, and then I'll go to the land. But you can see, like today, it's all northwest wind. Maybe tonight, all these arrows are going to flip and they're all going to start blowing offshore. And so it's really fun to just check in the afternoon, check in the evening, and to see how accurate the forecast is, because each sock, like we showed, gives you a forecast. So that's a fun one, and I hope that helps you all out. I think it gives you like a week. Yeah, look at this. So conditions are going to be real good. Let's go through this now that I see this. Tomorrow's Friday, and conditions, everything's turning offshore. So the arrow's pointing straight to the ocean, offshore with a little north. And then typical for offshore wind, it's only in the morning typically. And then the day turns around, and the northwest wind that we saw blowing on that outer buoy is pretty constant, and that's the California trade winds. They just blow northwest, blowing down the coast. But our land wind is what helps our waves out really well. And so the offshores, here they go, from the evening up until about noon on Friday. And on Saturday's going offshore all day. So that'd be a great day to be surfing. That means the winds are going to be really light. Sunday, same thing. Monday, even when the wind gets a little north, these numbers are so small, it's not treacherous. As a surfer, you're looking at this saying, I can pretty much surf all day. I could go surfing anytime. The winds aren't going to be high. Look at this, you guys. Conditions are pretty good up until Tuesday, almost Christmas. Wednesday, offshore all day. Thursday, offshore all day. So it looks like the forecast is lots of surfing with great conditions. So that's cool. Any questions thus far? I've been talking quite a bit. Has this been helpful? Is this okay? So I guess then, to kind of just like wrap up, let me go. We pretty much have walked through it all, at least what I look at. We talked about the angle and the angle of the swell and how that affects where the wave, like how the waves are breaking. So throughout this next time, I pay attention in your notes to like reading the buoy and seeing those numbers swing really north when it says 325, and say, wow, that storm's really from the north. And then drive around and see what the waves look like along the coast of Pacific Grove, and then go to Carmel and see what it looks like. And then when you have a swell that's more 270, do the same drive and compare and contrast and start making these mental notes of where you're surfing on what swells. And this is how we really get to interact with our local environment, because we're having to become our own weather station, right? And through time and lots of error, or the word that we use in surfing is called getting skunked, you just figure it out and you just start building that database. We are so lucky, because the people before us didn't have all these tools to forecast swells, to get live wind reports all over the place. So we are really lucky to have these abilities. And then we have all these webcams too, so that makes it fun. So I guess going forward is if you have questions, please reach out. Start paying attention to the buoys and the periods, and seeing how things change constantly. I think that's like the biggest thing, and that's what makes it so fun. But if there's nothing else, that's really what I wanted to share with you today, was those 2 applications, so you could get a visual of the swells and then get a visual for the wind as well. Anybody have any questions? If not, the Pipe Masters is on. The men are surfing right now. It is live on the worldsurfleague.com. I welcome you to tune it on and have it going on in the background, just to see the way the people are surfing one of the heaviest waves on the planet on the North Shore of Oahu, the Bonsai Pipeline. Right now, during this time of year, typically this is the Super Bowl season of surfing. Everybody goes to the North Shore, and from across the world, every major rider is on the North Shore for the duration of about 6 weeks to do a ton of surfing and marketing and advertising for their big brands. But also, that's where the best surf is around the world this time of year, is on the North Shore of Oahu. So tune into the live broadcast of the Pipeline Masters and enjoy. Nothing else. I'll see most of you, all of you, some of you on Saturday at the beach. And if I don't see you, then I wish you a happy holiday and tons of stoke and love. And I hope to see you soon in the water. Please ask any questions, and thanks for getting me on this this Zoom call. I remember this is like my first one, so thanks a lot. I really appreciate you all being here.
Thanks for doing it. This was great.
Cool. Hope you learned something. Check y'all
Indeed.
later.
Thank you very much.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.